Hello everyone and welcome to another edition of The Beam. Today we beam our searchlight on what remains a hugely disappointing act by some citizens of South Africa. Now protests have grown across the continent with cars stoned, clashes outside embassies and companies threatened with closure as South Africa continues to face the backlash over xenophobic attacks on migrant workers. But first, let's take a look at other trends in the information superhighway. The Orekwaya family were reunited with their children kidnapped by a nanny employed via an online trading platform. She demanded 15 million naira ransom, but even if the money was paid, she wouldn't be enjoying it as the long arm of the law has caught up with her. The Ondo State Commissioner of Health, Dr. Dayo Adeyanju, took time to explain the strange disease that broke out in Irele area of Ondo State, as there were claims by traditionalists that the desecration of a shrine was responsible. Well, there you go, some of the trends in the past week, but we now shift our attention back to the business of the day.
Regarding what's going on in South Africa, I must say it is very frustrating that is going on in an African nation. I live in the UK, and I've seen a lot of stuff coming from the white people. Not all of them, because some of them are good. But when you see a white man being racist or discriminatory towards you, you feel very bad, and it's easy to just put it down to the fact that, oh, it's because I'm black. It's even worse to then see that actually a fellow black man from Africa is this discriminatory towards a fellow black person. What do I make of it? I think it's just frustrating. I think we all need to stand up against it. I think our collective countries, especially Nigeria in this case, has to stand up to this occasion and actually spell it out in a diplomatic manner, because obviously we have diplomatic relationship with this country, South Africa, and there is no reason why we should have our brothers and sisters living in a place where they cannot actually go about it in their business, knowing that their lives are secure.
There are two things lacking for Nigeria. The problem isn't about the relations. It's about what we call lack of foreign policy articulation, where you don't have the right pegs being put in the right holes. We haven't had that kind of a foreign affairs ministry that can exert its authority, that can make use of its soft power to articulate Nigeria's position in the Committee of Nations. And it's not just about South Africa. Nigerians have been having problems all over the world in different countries because we have had a foreign affairs ministry that is particularly docile, particularly responsible, particularly retroactive, particularly uncaring when it comes to issues that have to do with Nigerians. So for me, I think that our failings or our failures as a state or as a country is because we don't have the right men who can do the job. And by doing the job, I mean who can invoke what we call the foreign policy doctrine of reciprocity. Reciprocity simply means that we do unto you exactly what you have done to us. We don't have that. If we had had that in the past, we would have overcome these whole issues about xenophobia or no xenophobia. Luckily, again, I had my master's in South Africa, so I know the system very well. So the South African system, to a large extent, has a systemic problem. That problem is structural. When you have a country that's gone through apartheid for so many years, it's so difficult for those set of people who have been under apartheid to understand that things have changed. So they're finding it very difficult to grapple with the realities on ground. Unfortunately, again, the apartheid system did, in all honesty, disadvantaged so many people in South Africa, particularly the black population. So for them, when they see someone from other countries, from Nigeria, Zambia, Zimbabwe, Malawi, etc., walk into their country, excel under the same system that they have failed, it becomes a matter of envy. So when you combine those factors together, you find out that that system, that state, that country has a problem.
The first thing we have to do is to put our own nature in order. Our foreign policy, then we have to provide jobs. Because if you look at the basis by which Nigeria wants to South Africa, except those who are schooling there, is because of lack of job opportunity back at home. So the first thing we have to do is to put our home in order. If we put our home in order, then of course we can start looking for a way to reciprocate our own foreign policies. What they do to us, we can start thinking of doing such thing to them. But if we don't put our home in order, 100 years to come, things like that will still happen and will have nothing to do to it.
But what the Nigerian state needs to do is to simply enforce the foreign policy, doctrine of reciprocity. There are a number of South African investments in Nigeria. We need to stop this whole incessant harassment of Nigeria. Clip MTN for 1 week. Get the NCC to act. All the NCC needs to do is, and they are MTN Nigeria, and the next 1 week we don't want to do an operation. Clip ESCOM Nigeria. Clip ShopRite. Clip a number of South African business interests here of Nigeria. Withdraw the Nigerian ambassador in Pretoria and see what's going to happen. But we can do that because we don't have the officers or the men who can call the shots. So it's a problem that needs to be tackled from two ends. The first end is we need to fix our system as a country, get things working for us. I do believe sincerely, when we do have a system that is working, when you have in Nigeria that everybody can call home, Nigerians naturally wouldn't want to go to South Africa. I was there for 2 years, beautiful country, wonderful infrastructure, but the level of hate, the level of hostility towards Nigerians in particular, and towards Africans in general, is particularly alarming. And I think that it's a problem that if we don't solve it on a national or state basis now, it's going to boomerang, and it's going to be a serious issue the next few years. And nobody's going to be able to deal with it. But for us to be able to deal with our problems in final analysis, we need to solve our domestic problems. We need to make sure that Nigeria is safe. Nigeria has enough jobs for its people, or fairly enough jobs for its people. Electricity is fixed. Infrastructures are working. You would see that people will be running to South Africa.
Just picking up from where Muyiwa, from one of the points made by Muyiwa, we have to be careful in this case because this isn't actually a problem of South Africa with Nigeria alone. It actually involves more African countries. And I think it would be a little bit unfair if Nigeria puts itself in front, literally, and be the one to pay the brunt of this by actually giving by making it difficult for companies like MTN, DSTV and the likes to do business in Nigeria. I think we need to look at the wider picture, which is that not all South Africans are actually like this. And in any community, we would find that there are very small group of people that would, by their actions, misrepresent or leave a very bad impression of the whole community. In that case, I think, as every speaker on this platform, as everyone has rightly pointed out, I think the government needs to sit tight, and there is no lying about it. The past government has not been able to do a good job with regards to representing Nigerians' interests outside of the country. Nigeria sacrificed so much, both financially and militarily in their cause. However, I for one, I think because of the fact that I live in the UK, where you would see people who would discriminate against you, but I feel over the years that it would be quite unfair if I say because of those few people that discriminate against me, I should then say the whole of the UK is like this. I still don't think South Africa as a country or South Africans generally would be necessarily bad because of what is going on, not because it's not unfortunate that this is happening, but because the proportion of those people involved in this act may be very low, too low, that it will be very, very bad for Africa for us to then cast a wider net and say, yeah, the whole of South Africans, they are ingrate. I think the government definitely needs to step up. The government of South Africa, they need to step up in actually dealing with this, because if Nigerians, we stood together with the South Africans, especially the black South Africans, to fight apartheid, the least we expect is to be treated with dignity and respect in return, whatever happens.
For the record, during apartheid, particularly between 1970 to 1994, a whopping $67 billion, taxpayers' money owned by the Nigerian people, Nigeria's money, was spent on South Africa for no reason. The reason was because we were saying no to apartheid. Apartheid to Nigeria means a stigma that needed to be phased out. Where were all these people who are now provoking these xenophobic attacks then? They have failed to learn from history. So when you have a country spending $67 billion on a cause that ordinarily shouldn't concern it, that kind of a country should deserve respect for the rest of its life from the beneficiaries. So if South Africans haven't accorded that respect to Nigeria as a country, it behoves on the Nigerian government to make a statement. And I repeat, I will flash you back to what happened in the last 2 or 3 years when we had this issue over yellow card, vaccination card and all that, when a group of Nigerians were deported from South Africa. You saw what the late Foreign Affairs Minister, Ashiru did then. A whole plane filled with South Africans, businessmen, were grounded at the Murtala Mohammed airport and were sent back to South Africa. And you saw what happened afterwards. You saw the presidency and its Ministry of Foreign Affairs apologizing. That is the kind of statement Nigeria must take. You cannot wait until your citizens are attacked before you can take a reaction. And do not also forget the place Nigeria holds in the Committee of Nations in Africa. If Nigeria doesn't make a statement, the rest of Africa will not make a statement. If Nigeria makes a statement, Africa will make a statement. Nigeria represents to Africa what the US represents to the rest of the world.
Well, the Minister of Foreign Affairs should be making the statements. In Nigeria, there's a full minister and there's a minister of state. We know the full minister should have coordinate external affairs, where the minister of state coordinates, the internal affairs. And the minister, either one, even if the full minister is absent, then the minister of state should be able to take up that responsibility of making a statement. But the only person making statement now has been the senator. The House of Rep member, Senator. Honorable Abike Dabiri, which is the House Committee on the House. The only one that has been talking. I've heard, releasing statement that calling on the government, to seek for diplomatic solutions to it.
You can feel bad about yourself if you live in a foreign land, like maybe if you're a black man living in a white world and you face racist tendencies. You will even feel more bad if you come to Africa and you see that we Africans are even worse than maybe the white racist. How can you tell me that somebody who called himself the king of the Zulu people will be one of the instigators of the attack on foreigners? He should, in fact, I know the kind of role traditional rulers play in Nigeria. I've never known some traditional rulers that instigate their people, even if they are holding their own opinion about a certain group of people. Like when we have all these riots in Kano, riots in wherever in Nigeria, you see all those traditional rulers, if they have an opinion that is in agreement with the people, they don't come out in the open to say it out. Because if they say it out, the polity will explode. There is nothing good that can come out of Africa. And when you look back and you look at it and you see how disunited we are in the way we do things. That is why if it's somebody who has maybe an African heritage will come openly and say, we are not going to get any good thing from Africa. So what I think is, in view of what is happening in South Africa now with respect to Nigerians, first, I think the Nigerian government has to make a statement. And the way I think they have to make this statement is they should ask themselves, if it is a country like America or UK, what will they do? And if they ask themselves that kind of question, they should be able to find out an answer. And that answer, I think, will go towards one, protecting Nigerians, as in trying to, employ the South African government to give Nigerians security protection, like sending their soldiers or whatever to protect the areas that you have Nigerians. And another thing too, the African Union need to come into this, just like the president of, I think it's the Ethiopia president, said, we need to come into this and ask South Africa what did they want. If they want to live alone in an African continent, it's very easy. The African continent can leave them alone, and let's see what will happen in the next 10 years. The white man will come back and just take the whole thing. It's very easy. It's very, very easy.
Well, there you go. That's what they feel about this disturbing issue, but you two can also be part of the program. Just keep sending your tweets, and we'll look at them later on in the show. But we'll take a break, and when we return, Naomi Lucas will join us to talk more on this disturbing issue. Please join us again.